This is the dual bay SATA hard drive Caddy from a company called Syba. And I want to show this before I install it in my case. This allows you to easily remove a 2.5-inch drive like a SSD and your 3.5-inch hard drives, which all have a standard size to them where the SATA and the power connectors go. So with this, when you mount it in the front of your case, you can slide your hard drive in and the door closes, snaps into place, and now you have a hard drive that can easily be removed by just pulling this lever. And as you can see, I want to show, like on the top drive for the 2.5-inch, there's a little lever that comes out to help pull the drives out. So when you push this in, you can see this little lever here gets pushed back. Gets locked in, and when you slide this lever, the drive just easily comes out because of this little plastic lever here. It's quite neat. This particular unit also has an optional 2 USB 3 ports. It uses the standard header, which is common on most of the newer motherboards. And what it does is it piggybacks the power connector from the 2.5 to the 3.5. You still will need 2 individual SATA cables for the 2.5 and the 3-inch devices, and then 1 power cable going to it. Now what I did is, my particular motherboard does not have this header because it's a few years old, and my case also does not support USB 3, so I decided to get the USB 3 ports in the front. So I picked up an Anchor USB 3 PCI card, which has 2 coming out the back, and it has that header, which will mate with this perfectly. Now the one catch I found when I was testing this is a challenge getting this out once you snap it in. It's not easy. I ended up using a screwdriver blade to pop that out. Normally you don't have to worry about popping it out, but if you do, don't be surprised if it takes a little bit of work. It's a very tight fit in there. So once it's all installed, I'll show how it works. Okay, this is the dual Caddy installed. There were no issues installing it. I installed it in an older Cooler Master case, and it slid in beautifully, no issues. First thing I was surprised about is the LEDs are extremely bright. I am probably going to take a Sharpie or something and try to tone them down because they're way too annoying, especially the access drive for the hard drive. It blinks and it's quite loud. The way I have this configured, my boot drive is my SSD 2.5-inch, and I'm going to have a variety of 3.5-inch drives in here for storage, removable storage. So when I rebooted the system, I went into the BIOS and enabled a hot swap on this device so that while the power's on, while the OS is running, I can hot swap drives in here, and it works great. Open the lid, it pulls the drive out. I like to wait a couple of seconds for the drive to spin down before I pull it out. And a nice little added feature, I use post-it notes to label what's on my drives, and the post-it notes do not get snagged in there. So you can, if you label them this way, it'll work just great. The USB 3 ports were also working great. I tested them with some high-speed USB 3 devices, no issues. And again, I had used the Anchor card, and this installed with no problem with Windows 10. No additional drivers were needed. It auto-detected everything. So overall, I really like this. This is a nice way if you want to play around with different operating systems, or you have a bunch of hard drives that you use for offline storage. It's an easy way to get things in and out of here. This was about $40 from Amazon. I think it's a few dollars cheaper if you don't want the USB 3 ports. And surprisingly also, there's an on-off switch here, which I didn't notice. Since this is all black, didn't notice it when I first installed it. So make sure it's on when you boot your PC. First time I booted it, it was not on, so it did not work. But other than that, it's a great deal for 40 bucks.